Hey guys, so I know y'all like, girl, really? Season's over. You missed 2 seasons. What are you doing? Y'all listen. Okay. I know it's been a minute. I have been so busy. I started my own business. I'll do another video about that because I'm still actually working on it and still doing my 9 to 5. And it's a lot. But anyway, so I just want to let you guys know I am still amongst the living. I know I missed 2 seasons of Married at First Sight, which is, I used to do the reviews for. And last season, I was kind of in and out. Like, I wasn't consistent with watching it. And I just was like, I'm not going to do reviews because I just haven't been, on the up and up with it. But this season, I was kind of inconsistent with it. And then when the drama started unfolding, yeah. So we just had the first part of the reunion with Married at First Sight, Atlanta. And I'm just going to jump right into it. Just pretty much summing up the season. Okay. So just my whole take on everybody and everything. I'm not surprised with the turnouts. Well, no, I'm kind of surprised with Clara and Ryan. I did not think Ryan was going to stay with Clara. I did not. I knew she was going to be down for whatever, but I was surprised that he decided to stay with her. And it was just so weird because during the season, the main issues with their marriage was him saying "I love you," and the whole them not consummating their marriage. Like, they were doing sexual things, but they were not actually having intercourse, which is what they said. So they decided to stay together. And when they were talking with Kevin during the reunion, and he asked y'all, Kevin pulls no punches, okay, when it comes to the questions, which I love. I kind of cringed a couple of times, but he was just doing his job and he was asking the questions we all wanted to know. So when he was asking about love, Ryan was he hadn't said it yet, and they were talking about they were planning on renewing their vows, having another wedding, because during the filming, COVID was in full effect, and they felt like they were not able to invite a lot of people because of COVID. Then my thought is, COVID is still amongst us, so you're still going to have limited guest lists, in my opinion. But anyway, so they're talking about renewing their vows, and Kevin asked, okay, did you say the L word? And Ryan, he's just so weird. So he was basically, like, no, I haven't said it yet. And then Kevin is like, okay, well, do you love her? And I know it's editing, so who's to say how long it took him to answer that? But then he comes out with, yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I think I love her. That is not, I love my wife. Well, I love her. That's, yeah, I think I do. What is that? But Clara, that was good enough for her. Listen, even if he didn't say it for a whole nother year, she was, as long as he stayed with her, she was fine with that. So then Kevin gets into the whole sex question. And they were so, oh, I don't know. Did we could have, maybe. It's like the whole time you guys discussed this on camera. So why all of a sudden now, like, you basically said, I am pleasing this man every night. So you either were giving him blowjobs, hand jobs, whatever. You were pleasing him every night. You said this on camera. So why all of a sudden now it's, oh, we don't want to talk about it. Either you did or you didn't. I don't know. I can't think of a reason why he wouldn't. Like, you decided to stay together. Is it because he doesn't love her yet? I don't know. Their whole dynamic is just weird. So anyway, Haley and Jacob. Okay. I'm not surprised that they decided to divorce. It was just, yeah. My personal opinion, I feel like the sex was trash. I do. I feel like when Haley, because she slept with him and on the honeymoon, and it seemed like after they had sex, she was totally different and distant from him. And I remember the scene where the couples met downstairs. They met up or something. I don't know if it was for breakfast or for drinks. I can't remember. But they met up and she told Jacob she was going to meet with the girls. And I think he ended up coming downstairs and he saw that it was everybody. It was all the couples, the men and the women. And so he was upset because he was like, you intentionally left me out. Not only did you intentionally leave me out, you lied to me and said that it was just going to be the women, and come to find out it's everybody. So from that point on, he started feeling rejected, and she was just like pushing away from him. And so my conclusion was she slept with him, the sex was trash, and everything just went downhill from there. I do think later on she struggled with, okay, can I get over that? Can I work with him as far as sexually? And then everything else just started adding on top of that. So, there can be a situation where, all right, the sex wasn't the best. It wasn't spectacular, but I can work with him if everything else is falling in line. And I think that all the other stuff, she probably could have gotten over just the sex trash, and I got to deal with all this other stuff. No. So that's what I think. And I think that, he felt rejected, and that's why he kept asking her, how do you feel about me? Are you attracted to me? Because after that, she didn't even want to kiss him. And she was kind of coming off like, oh, we're still new, we're still strangers, I need to feel a connection. It's like, what kind of connection do you need? Because you already slept with this dude. Like, you've already crossed that line. So why is kissing him such a big moment for you, where you got to think about it, and the stars have to align and all of that? So I think he felt rejected, and he knew, okay, she was not feeling the sex. And she wasn't being honest with him about it, because he was coming out and asking her, hey, how do you feel? Are you attracted to me? And she kept beating around the bush. And it seemed like at that point he was out to, I don't want to say hurt her, but I felt like he was kind of out to make her miserable. Like, I know you're lying to me. I know you're not feeling me. And because you're not telling me the truth and you playing these games, I'm not going to consider your feelings when talking about you or talking to you or in my actions. I'm just going to do what I do. And if your feelings get hurt, oh well. Then there was the situation with the bracelet. Or was it a necklace? I think it was a bracelet. He bought her a bracelet. You guys know when they get married, a lot of times the couples, they would send each other a gift on the wedding day. And a lot of times the men would send like a necklace, a bracelet in this case. And she did not wear it at all. And I don't think she even acknowledged it to him. Like, once they got married, it was like, I don't think she even acknowledged, like, to say thank you or what have you. I think he mentioned it to her, and then she was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, thanks for the bracelet. And amongst several discussions or arguments that they had, he finally mentioned to her that, his feelings were hurt because he spent a lot of money on the bracelet as a gift. She didn't acknowledge it. She hasn't been wearing it. She didn't even have it in the house. I think she gave it to her mother after the wedding to basically, take it home and whatever. And to him, it was like a slap in the face. Like, you didn't appreciate it, you didn't like it. And, so he mentioned that to her. They had an argument about it, and she was just like, so whatever, I'll give you the bracelet back. but it wasn't about it wasn't about the money. Or that he wanted it back. It was more so like, I took time to buy this gift for you, which to him cost a pretty penny. And the fact that you didn't even acknowledge it, like, you're just so ungrateful and, didn't appreciate it. And I don't think anybody would have felt that way, So that was that. And a couple of times they seemed to try to work it out. But I think with Jacob, he was just like, I'm done. Like, this girl doesn't like me. She, obviously isn't attracted to me. Obviously, we do not have a sexual connection. Obviously, she's not satisfied with what I'm presenting in bed. And that could be a blow to anybody's ego, especially a man. Like, come on. So I didn't see it for them at all. And I wasn't surprised. Let's see. Virginia and Eric. Goodness. Okay. Virginia clearly has a drinking problem. And I would not be surprised. I think she probably dabbling in drugs too. This is my opinion. Eric, there are times where I feel like he's very, very controlling. But then I'm like, maybe he's been there, done that. He's ready to settle down. And she's just not ready. She's just all over the place. They kept bumping heads in terms of her partying. Like, she said that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, she goes out drinking with her friends, her male friends, and have at times fallen asleep at their house because she's too drunk to drive home. Now, there's a problem with that. I mean, unless all your guy friends are gay, there's no reason why you should be spending the night with at any guy's house and you're married. Your husband can come and pick you up if you're that drunk. And, a lot of people get this notion that, just because we're married doesn't mean my life has to stop. Well, that's true in a sense, but at the same time, he was like, I would need a text from you to know that you're okay, if it's late or whatever. Like, she had a problem with that. She totally wanted to continue to party like she was partying, but still have a husband. And part of her partying ways was getting wasted, like pissy drunk, 3 days out of the week, and not coming home and not texting to let him know that she's okay. Like, no, man, that's not even how that works in a relationship, let alone a marriage. So they bumped heads a lot. I kind of feel like Eric was manipulative, because they would get in arguments, and when she shut down and kind of act like there were times where she was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just too much, whatever. He would then turn around and kind of coddle her, or kind of agree with what she's saying to kind of reel her back in. And to me, that could be a problem, because it's like a never ending cycle of manipulation and emotional abuse, if you will. Every time you get in an argument and you feel like she's getting ready to check out, you tell her what she wants to hear to reel her back in. It's going to always be like a never ending cycle of that behavior until somebody just snaps. But they did decide to stay together, which I don't know if I'm surprised or not, because there was a point where Virginia acted like, I'm done, this is too much for me, what have you. But they decided to stay together. It was weird during the reunion. I don't want to say she seemed brainwashed, but she kind of seemed to conform to his way of thinking. And I noticed that with all the women that stayed married. They seemed to kind of shift gears, and whatever the men wanted, they were conforming to. Which brings me to Brianna and Vincent. Now, I know a lot of people like Vincent. I had a problem with Vincent. To me, Vincent, with him being uber sensitive and kind of seeming like he had a little attitude, it was a lot, because I noticed, especially with the dance lessons that they had, and it's like he wasn't quick to get it, and immediately he had an attitude. And Brianna, she was excited and she was all bubbly, and oh, did you have a good time? No, like he was just, and then her whole face just went south. It was like her whole spirit just came down, and I didn't like that because I felt like her happiness, her feelings will always be dismissed or diminished if he's not happy about it, if he's not feeling it, if he's having a problem. And to me that's wrong. But he's very, very sensitive. Now Brianna, she can little, poke the bear a little bit, but when they play back the scenes of when he would get upset, like with the horse riding, it was just so extra. And the champagne, and what did she say? Oh, that's so Vanny or something like that. And later on he gets quiet and she's like, what's wrong? You okay? No, I didn't like it. It was like you got smart. I mean, it was just too much. It was too much. They had conversations about having kids, and Brianna mentioned that she has high blood pressure and she is terrified of physically giving birth, and then on top of her age and blood pressure, she's scared of being high risk and all of that comes along with it, which is totally normal to feel. He was just like, I want to have kids, this, he don't know if it's a deal breaker or what. And all of a sudden during the reunion, she's talking about, oh, having kids. Not to say she can't change her mind, but it just seemed like, there was a thing of her being bossy, and he constantly brought that up. Like, I don't like bossy women. I put that down on my, my application, and, your family kept saying it, and he was turned off by it. And, she was saying how basically that's just who she is. She's not going to change, which, it's give or take. You do have to compromise, but she was so adamant. And now it's, yeah, I know I can't always get my way. I know everything is not a big deal. I know I can't like, okay, where's the compromise from him? Because you're now saying, all right, I'm not going to put that much expectations on him. If he's messy and I know that I'm this neat freak and it drive me crazy, I'm just gonna let it pass. I'm not gonna, and not to say you have to argue about it, but don't totally change who you are to appease someone. Like, it should be give and take. But they seem to be, I mean, he seems to be into her. He seemed to be into her, and they seem to be, falling for each other. So kudos to them. Now let's get into, oh my gosh, Paige and Chris. Y'all already know. Chris is psychotic. There's just no unbelievable. Y'all, I don't even know. It's like, you would think they knew each other before coming on the show, and he was just on this get back campaign with her. Like, I don't understand how you can treat somebody like this that you do know. More, we're not even talking about, you just met this woman and you're taking her through, just dragging her through the mud. This guy in the beginning, on the wedding day, he came out and said he was not attracted to her. He said this to the cameras. He told this to her friends / bridesmaids. And if I'm not mistaken, the next day, because they had sex that night, the next day, I believe, I know on the honeymoon, he told her that she was not normally what he would go for. He's not used to dating someone, that looks like her. So it's like, from the gate, he was dogging her. Whether you're attracted to this person or not, that's not something you just come out and say. And then, you're playing with her, so you're not attracted to her, but you're sleeping with her. And that's what got her, because she's like, I don't understand, you want to have sex multiple times, but you're not attracted to me. So in her mind, it was like, no, he is attracted to me, because why would he sleep with me? even if that was the case, the mere fact that he's telling you this, did not even consider your feelings, to me, that alone is a red flag. Then on their honeymoon, he tells her his ex-fiance is pregnant. And, you know, a lot of people were saying they think he threw that out there because, like, that was his backup excuse to not really participate in the marriage. His thing was, if I get with someone, I'm not attracted to her, I'm gonna throw this in, I'm gonna throw this storyline in there, and that would be my out of the marriage. That, you know, which kind of makes sense, but from day one, he was dogging this girl, and it was so painful to watch. I was feeling sorry for Paige in the beginning, but then at some point I was like, you, Paige, come on. Then I'm like, where are her friends? Where are her friends and family to step in and say, hey, you know, this dude said that he wasn't attracted to you, and you know, I don't know if she wasn't reaching out to her friends and letting them know that this is what was going on, because I can't imagine her telling them what she was going through and them not being there for her. So I don't know. Maybe she wasn't telling them, but nonetheless, it was too much drama for one person to, it was too much. It was too much. And I remember, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember them actually giving her an option to leave the marriage. Now, you know, I believe it's set up where you do not get paid unless you've completed the entire experiment up to decision day. So you had to go through the entire experiment up, you know, to decision day, and then you got paid. So, and I think they changed it where if you left before then, you didn't get paid. So I don't know if you got paid along the way, a certain amount, certain percentage, or you didn't get paid until the end. And if you left early, you did not get paid. So with that being said, and that's me thinking that that's how it's worked now, they gave Paige an option to leave because they were watching this unfold. This, let's just call it what it was. It was abuse, okay? They saw it unfold, so they gave her an option, and she chose to stay, and she kept putting God in it, you know. Well, I truly believe God brought us together, and, you know, brought us together for a reason. I'm going to see it through. Listen, God don't, you know, you can't put everything on God. And a lot of times people use God as an excuse. Like, no, this is what you want. This is the decision you're making. And, you know, you're trying to say, oh, well, you know, because it's marriage and God put us together, that's why I'm staying. Like, at some point you need to have a conversation with God and say, look, I don't know if you put this together, but I'm not happy, I'm miserable, and I'm asking you to please take me out of this, either change it or take me out of the situation. And Chris he played games with this woman just beyond belief. It was so ridiculous. And he just kept, just when you thought she had the courage to finally build some self-esteem and remove herself from the situation, here he comes. Here he comes, and he's laying it on, and she's smiling and grinning and taking him back. And it was just bad. It was so bad. Like, I think this may have been the worst pairing out of everyone. He, aside from Luke and Kate situation, Chris is the worst. He is the absolute worst. And so we get to decision day. Good Lord. And he comes in and he's like, here you are. I'm surprised they even had them there, because I thought it was determined and decided that they were not going to be together. But they were there. And here you are supposed to be talking about your marriage and basically finalizing things and giving your decision as to whether or not you're going to stay. And you're talking about, oh, Mercedes lost the baby. Okay, and then he was kind of coming off as, well, yeah, maybe things can work out. You know, she lost the baby. Then he gets into this whole, he breaks down and he runs out. Paige is running after him. They're in the car. And to me, that was, he's always running away. But to me, he knew she was going to run behind him because she always did. To me, that was his way of getting her away from the scene, getting her away from the expert so that he can manipulate her. Because when they got in the car, she's like, well, what's going on? What do you want to do? And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm sorry for treating you this way. You want to go back in there. Kind of like manipulating the situation so that when they get back in there, she would decide to stay with him. Okay, so they get back in there. He's giving her his jacket to put across her legs, and they start talking. So the experts are like, okay, is there a change? Like, what's going on with you guys? This fool gonna say, well, we can't answer that. So now he's speaking for both of them. And that's what I mean by that's why he ran out with hopes that she would run behind him so that they can have that private sidebar conversation so that he can make her feel like there is a chance so that when we get back in there, she won't go against what he's saying. So he's like, well, we can't answer that. They're like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? You can't answer that. Well, we just can't answer that right now. So Paige is like, I know it's difficult. I know it's hard to understand. Here she is going along with what he's doing. And Dr. Viviana just went off. She was like, I can't. Like, this is ridiculous. I can't do this. I can't, sit here and listen to this. Like, she basically was calling him out on his BS. So that triggered Paige. I think it hit her like, wow. So Paige has a meltdown and she's like, I just can't do this anymore. This is too much for me. And I felt bad for her. Like, I go back and forth to feeling bad for Paige. But she had a moment where she was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is too much for me. So she walks out. He didn't follow her. And the producers were talking to her and they were like, what do you want to do? Like, be strong, whatever. And she comes back. And they talking, like, okay, what do you guys want to do? Where are you with this? And that's when she says, I think it's best that we just don't. Like, I can't do this anymore. And it's just too much for me. I think we should just call it quits. So they end with all of that. Everybody has made their decisions. The couples meet up later on. And Chris isn't there yet. So Paige is telling everyone what they decided. She's telling them what they decided, but then she's kind of giving him kudos and she's smiling like, yeah, and he said that I'm the best thing he never cherished and appreciated. And she's smiling. And I'm like, this girl. So Chris finally shows up and he's apologizing to everyone because you guys know throughout the whole season, he was bumping heads with everyone because they had revealed to the group that he was expecting a baby. And Paige was confiding in the girls as to, how Chris was treating her. So he had a few confrontations with people in the group, the men and women. So he comes in and he's apologizing for his behavior and the issues and arguments that he's had with the group. He's talked about, his treatment of Paige and all of that. Basically damage control. So all of that ends and then they show up at the reunion. So Kevin is asking questions. He's asking, Kevin is going in. And Chris, of course, gets upset. He asks about, the sex. Like, oh my gosh, they played the clip of him saying on the wedding date he wasn't attracted to her. Okay, well, he told her that. So, whatever. But when they showed the clip of him talking to Pastor Cal and him saying, out of all the women in Atlanta, y'all hooked me up with, and he makes this face, and y'all, when I tell you I cringed, I had secondhand embarrassment. Even though he told Paige this, okay? He's already told her this. They've already played a clip of it. And then to follow up with this clip, I personally felt like it was unnecessary. I was just like, why are they doing this to her? But they played it and her face, the look on her face. So Kevin was like, okay, you mentioned several times you weren't attracted to her, but yet y'all kept having sex. And so they was just like, we don't want to talk about sex anymore. We're tired of talking about that. And Kevin was like, okay, I'm asking because, people want to know, like, he's treating you this a certain way. He's told you he wasn't attracted to you, yet you continue to sleep with him. Chris, you saying that you're not attracted to her, but yet you keep sleeping with her. So, he's only asking the questions we all want to know, right? But they were just like, we're not talking about it. And Paige is like, I don't want to keep talking about it, and respect my decision and whatever about whatever. So Kevin brings up the Pastor Dwight, and the fact that he met with Paige and they talked about Chris and the things that he said about Chris, basically calling Chris a BSer and that, an immature, he wasn't ready for marriage, and he's been engaged twice already, and talking about the pregnancy. So Chris was like, I don't want to talk about it. I haven't spoken to him, and I'm just like, whatever. I'm not ready to do that. So Kevin was like, okay, well, get ready because he's here. So they bring out Pastor Dwight, and it just went left. So Chris was just like, he didn't appreciate him talking to Paige and, talking about him. And that's a conversation they could have had on the side, just those two, man to man. And so Pastor Dwight was trying to speak, and he was saying how, Chris doesn't like to be corrected. Basically, he's hard-headed. Nobody can tell him anything. It's hard to kind of coach him, guide him, be there for him, because he's hard-headed, and he knows everything. So Chris is, cussing at the pastor, and they're going back and forth. And, one thing that irritated me was Kevin calling on Paige, like, Paige, can you calm him down? Paige, can you? And I'm like, and then she's standing up in between them. I'm like, wait a minute, where is security? Okay, where is Married at First Sight security? She is a woman and standing in between two men arguing that they can swing at any given moment, even though he's a pastor, but whatever. So for Kevin to be like, Paige, Paige, no, call security out to handle that. Like, really? Has she not been through enough? But she was still, Chris. I'm like, who wants to deal with that? Like, who wants to be with somebody he constantly go, and then he went off on Dr. Viviana during decision day. So he's a hothead, and he needs therapy. He needs therapy and his ass whipped, okay? So Chris leaves, and so the pastor was like, look, what you're not going to do is cuss at me. Like, we're not doing that. So Chris leaves, and he's like, you want to discuss this? Come meet me in the parking lot. So I was like, listen, now the pastor, that he may be a pastor down, but pastor looked like he could throw some hands. Like, he wasn't always a pastor, okay? And but he didn't go out, well, at least in that segment, because there's two parts. We didn't see him go out in the parking lot, and I'm glad he didn't, and I hope he didn't, because, like, really, this is what we're doing. We're going to meet in the parking lot and fight now, Chris? Like, okay. So that was the end of that. But this season was interesting from day one. Like, yeah. But yeah, I'm kind of, sorry that I didn't review it along the way, but I thought I would come in at the end. I'll do another review after reunion 2. So I hope the guys and girls that used to watch my videos and reviews of Married at First Sight, I hope you guys see this. I'm back. And I hope you comment. Like, let's talk about the season. What did you guys think? What did you think about the reunion? And all that good stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, take care.